There is something that Jesus said that most people have never truly stopped to think about. And I mean, really think about. Not just read it in passing, not just nod along in a Sunday service, but sit with it, feel the weight of it, and let it change something deep inside of you. Because what he said, this specific thing, it cuts right through every assumption you've ever had about what it means to follow him. And if you have a few minutes today, I want you to stay with me. Because I genuinely believe that what we're about to walk through together could be one of the most important things you encounter this year. I want you to understand something before we go any further. I'm not here to scare you. I'm not here to point a finger at you or make you feel like you've already failed somehow. That's not why I make these videos, and it's not why you're watching. I believe you're here because something inside of you is searching. Something inside of you wants to be sure. Something inside of you is asking the question that honestly, most people are too proud or too busy to ask. Am I truly on the right path? And if you're asking that question, that's not a sign of weakness. That's actually a sign that the Holy Spirit is already working in your heart. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, please do that right now. Every time you subscribe, you're helping carry this message to someone else who may desperately need to hear it. And I believe God blesses every act of spreading his truth. Now, let's go there together, because the entire conversation we're about to have is rooted not in my opinion, not in a preacher's tradition, but in the actual words of Jesus Christ. Words he spoke while he walked this earth. Words recorded by people who were there, who saw him, who heard him speak in that voice that apparently stopped crowds in their tracks. In the Gospel of Matthew, in the 7th chapter, Jesus is speaking what we now call the Sermon on the Mount. He's on a hillside with people gathered from all over the region. And he says something that I think we have either glossed over, misunderstood, or quietly hoped didn't mean what it appears to mean. He says, and I want you to hear this slowly, enter through the narrow gate. For wide is the gate, and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many are on it. But small is the gate, and narrow the road that leads to life, and only a few find it. Only a few find it. Let that sit for just a moment. The Son of God, the one who loves every human being more than we can possibly comprehend, looked out at the world and said that most people are on the wrong road. He didn't say it to condemn them. He said it because he loved them. He said it as a warning. He said it the way a loving father would grab his child's arm right before they step into traffic. He said it because he didn't want anyone to be lost. But here's what I find remarkable. Jesus didn't say, only a few are saved, and there's nothing you can do about it. He said, only a few find it. Find it. That word implies a search. That word implies that the road is there, the gate is there, and it is absolutely possible to reach it. He's not saying you can't make it. He's saying most people aren't looking the right way, or they're not truly looking at all. And there is a profound difference between those two things. So then the real question becomes, what is the narrow road? What does it actually mean to enter through that narrow gate? And more personally, are you on it? Not in a hypothetical sense. Not in a, well, I believe in God, so I assume I'm fine sense. But in a real, honest, searching sense. Because this is where I think so many people, including people who have attended church for decades, including people who know the Bible well, this is where even they can miss what Jesus was pointing to. And I say that not to shake your confidence, but because I think it's one of the most loving things I can do to make sure we're all hearing what Jesus actually said, not just what we assume he said. Let's go back to that same chapter of Matthew's Gospel. Just a few verses later, Jesus continues, and he says something that is honestly one of the most unsettling things he ever said. He says, not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven, but only the one who does the will of my Father who is in heaven. Many will say to me on that day, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name, and in your name drive out demons, and in your name perform many miracles? Then I will tell them plainly, I never knew you. Away from me. I never knew you. Now, I want you to think carefully about who Jesus is talking to in that moment. He's not talking about people who rejected him. He's not talking about people who didn't believe. He's talking about people who called him Lord, people who did religious things in his name, people who would have described themselves as believers. And yet Jesus looks at them and says, "I never knew you." How is that possible? How can someone spend their whole life in what looks like devoted faith and still be someone Jesus says he never knew? That question should stop us in our tracks. And I don't ask it to frighten you. I ask it because the answer is the entire point of this message. Because the answer is the key to the narrow gate. The answer is relationship. Genuine, living, personal relationship with Jesus Christ. You see, the word Jesus uses when he says, "I never knew you," in the original Greek language of the New Testament, that word for "knew" is a deeply intimate word. It's not the word you'd use for knowing a fact. It's not the word you'd use for recognizing a name. It's the word used for deeply knowing another person. The kind of knowing that comes from closeness, from time spent together, from trust. It's the same kind of word used to describe how a husband knows his wife, how a parent knows their child. It's personal. It's relational. And what Jesus is saying, what he has always been saying, through every parable, through every conversation, through every miracle, is that what he is looking for is not religious performance. He is looking for a real relationship with you, a relationship where he knows your fears and your failures and your private struggles and your secret hopes, where you bring all of that to him, where you walk with him not just on Sundays, not just in a crisis, but every single day, where he is genuinely the Lord of your life, not just a title you give him. And here's where it gets tender and personal. Because I want to ask you something, and I want you to be honest with yourself as you hear it. When was the last time you genuinely talked to Jesus? Not a rehearsed prayer, not a quick blessing before a meal, not a desperate plea when something went wrong, but a real conversation where you opened your heart, where you said what you were actually feeling, where you admitted what you were actually struggling with, where you sat quietly and listened for him. When was the last time that happened for you? Because for so many people, and I say this with so much compassion, Jesus has become background noise. You believe in him. You would never deny him. But he's not truly at the center. He's not truly the first voice you seek in the morning. He's become a name you call on when life gets hard, but not a presence you cultivate every day. And that's the wide road. That's what the wide road actually looks like. It doesn't look like obvious wickedness. It doesn't look like someone who hates God. The wide road is comfortable. The wide road lets you believe the right things, say the right things, even do some of the right things, but never truly surrender. Never truly let Jesus into the deep places. Never truly make him Lord of everything. The wide road is the road of a religion without a relationship. And that, I believe, is what Jesus was warning about. Not because he wanted to exclude people, but because he knows that a life lived on that road, a life of going through religious motions while keeping your heart locked away, that life will never satisfy you the way he wants to. It will never transform you the way he designed you to be transformed. And at the end, the saddest thing imaginable would be for him to say, "I never truly knew you. You were near me, but you never let me in." In the Gospel of Luke, in the 13th chapter, someone comes to Jesus and asks him directly, "Lord, are only a few people going to be saved?" And Jesus doesn't give a theological explanation. Instead, he says, "Make every effort to enter through the narrow door, because many, I tell you, will try to enter and will not be able to." Make every effort. Not sit back and assume you're covered. Not do the minimum and hope for the best. Make every effort. That phrase carries urgency. That phrase implies that following Jesus is something you actively, daily, wholeheartedly pursue. Not because you earn your salvation, no. Grace is entirely a gift, and we must never lose sight of that. But because, when you truly understand what Jesus has done for you, the natural response is to run toward him with everything you have. When someone gives you a gift so extraordinary, so costly, so precious, that it literally came at the expense of their own life, you don't leave that gift in the corner. You cherish it. You let it change how you live. I want to talk about something that I think is at the very core of this message. Something that Jesus addressed again and again. And that is the condition of the heart. Because Jesus wasn't primarily focused on external behavior. He wasn't running through a checklist of what you did and didn't do. What Jesus always came back to was the heart, the interior, the hidden part of you that no one else sees but that he sees perfectly. In the Gospel of Mark, in the 7th chapter, Jesus says something that should reshape the way we think about our faith entirely. He says, "These people honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. They worship me in vain. Honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me." That's not just a description of religious hypocrites in ancient times. That's a description of a pattern that can happen in any human heart, in any generation, including ours, including yours and mine. It is entirely possible to say all the right words and feel very little. It is entirely possible to attend every service, sing every song, serve in every ministry, and still have a heart that hasn't truly surrendered, still have a heart that is protecting certain corners from Jesus. And Jesus, who sees everything, who knows you infinitely more than you know yourself, he knows the difference. He knows whether what's happening in your life is a genuine love for him or a practiced religion that has become more about comfort and identity than actual devotion. And here's what I want you to hear in that, because I want to make sure you hear it the right way. Jesus isn't saying that to condemn you. He's saying it because he wants more for you. He knows that the things you're holding back from him, the fears, the habits, the ambitions, the wounds, those are the very things keeping you from the fullness of what he wants to give you. The narrow road isn't narrow because Jesus wants to make things hard for you. The narrow road is narrow because it requires all of you. And giving all of yourself is the hardest thing a human being can do. But it is also the most freeing thing a human being can ever do. When you stop pretending and start being honest with Jesus, something shifts. When you stop performing and start pursuing, something opens up. When you stop treating faith like a box to check and start treating it like the relationship it was always meant to be, you start to discover things about Jesus and about yourself that you never could have discovered any other way. You start to hear his voice more clearly. You start to notice his presence more consistently. You start to experience what the Apostle Paul described as a peace that surpasses all understanding. Not the absence of difficulty, not a guarantee that life will be easy, but a peace that is deeper than your circumstances. A peace that holds you even when everything around you is uncertain. In the Gospel of Matthew, in the 22nd chapter, a religious leader asks Jesus what the greatest commandment is, and Jesus answers without hesitation. He says, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is like it, love your neighbor as yourself. All of the law and the prophets hang on these two commandments." Everything hangs on love. Not on doctrine alone, not on ritual alone, on love. Love for God with everything you have, and love for the people around you as an overflow of that love. And when I look at what keeps people on the wide road, one of the biggest things I see is a love that has been misplaced. A love primarily turned inward. A love that asks, "What can faith do for me?" rather than, "What does Jesus want from me?" A love that is conditional, selective, convenient. A love that reaches its limit when things get costly. Jesus, in the Gospel of John, in the 15th chapter, says something absolutely breathtaking. He says, "Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends." He wasn't just making a philosophical statement. He was describing what he was about to do. He was hours from the cross. And in saying that, he was also painting a picture of what true discipleship calls us toward. Not necessarily physical death in every case, but a daily death. A daily laying down of your own agenda, your own pride, your own comfort, and saying, "Jesus, not what I want, but what you want. That is the narrow road. That is what it costs. And that is why only a few find it, not because it's hidden, but because our natural selves resist it with everything we have. Our flesh does not naturally want to lay itself down. Our flesh wants to be elevated, comfortable, in control, and following Jesus, really, truly following Jesus, means walking against the current of everything your flesh wants every single day. But here is the miracle of grace. You don't do it alone, because Jesus didn't just invite you to follow him. He gave you his Holy Spirit to walk alongside you, to strengthen you, to guide you, to convict you when you drift, and comfort you when you struggle. Paul writes in his letter to the Galatians, in the 5th chapter, that the Spirit produces in us love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control, not through effort alone, through surrender, through staying close to the vine, through abiding. That word abide is so important. Jesus uses it again and again in the 15th chapter of John. He says, I am the vine, you are the branches. Whoever abides in me, and I in him, he it is that bears much fruit. For apart from me, you can do nothing. Abide, remain, stay. Don't drift. Keep coming back. Keep the connection alive and real. That is the entire secret to walking the narrow road. Not perfection, not flawlessness, simply staying close to Jesus, returning to him when you wander, bringing everything to him, letting him have every part of your life, including the parts that embarrass you, including the parts you've been hiding. Because here is the thing that the enemy of your soul does not want you to believe. Here is the lie that keeps so many people on the wide road. And that lie is this: it's too late for me. I've gone too far. I've done too much. Jesus couldn't really want someone like me. And I want to look you in the eye right now, through whatever screen you're watching this on, and tell you with everything I have, that is a lie. That is one of the oldest, most destructive lies ever whispered into a human heart, and it has kept more people from the narrow road than almost anything else. Jesus never turned away anyone who came to him with a sincere and broken heart. Not once. Not in the Gospels. Not anywhere in Scripture. He turned away the proud, the self-righteous, those who thought they had no need of him. But the broken, the struggling, the ones who had messed up terribly and knew it, he ran toward them. He sat with them. He healed them. He restored them. He called them by name. Think about Zacchaeus, the tax collector, despised by his entire community, who climbed a tree just to catch a glimpse of Jesus. And Jesus stopped underneath that tree, looked up, and said, Zacchaeus, come down immediately. I must stay at your house today. I must stay at your house. There is an urgency in that statement that takes my breath away every time I read it. Jesus didn't wait to be invited. He invited himself because he saw in that small, scorned, desperate man someone worth stopping for, someone worth pursuing. That is Jesus. That is who he is. And that is the Jesus who is calling you right now. Not to perform better, not to clean yourself up before coming to him, but to come as you are, to bring everything you are, and to let him do in you what only he can do. I want to address something else now. Something that I think is crucial to understanding the narrow road, because I've been talking about what it means to walk closely with Jesus, to have a genuine relationship with him, to keep your heart fully surrendered. And I want to talk about what that actually looks like in real, ordinary life. Because I think sometimes we make the Christian life sound either impossibly difficult or suspiciously easy. And the truth is somewhere that is harder to describe, but infinitely more real than either extreme. The narrow road looks like ordinary days, lived with extraordinary attentiveness to Jesus. It looks like waking up in the morning and before your phone, before your to-do list, before the noise of the day drowns everything out, turning to him, saying good morning to the Lord of the universe, bringing your day to him, asking him to go before you, asking him to help you see people the way he sees them. The narrow road looks like choosing honesty when dishonesty would be easier. It looks like forgiving someone who doesn't deserve it, not because you feel like it, but because Jesus has forgiven you of so much more. It looks like giving generously when you could justify holding back. It looks like speaking a kind word to someone who is struggling, even when you're struggling too. It looks like admitting when you've been wrong and going back to make it right, even when pride screams at you not to. The narrow road doesn't look glamorous. It rarely makes headlines. It's quiet, sometimes lonely, sometimes costly, but it is the most profoundly alive way to live that any human being can experience, because it is the life you were actually designed for. You were designed for communion with God. You were designed for the deep, abiding joy that comes from walking in step with your Creator. Every other road, every path that looks easier and wider and more appealing, it will take you somewhere, but it will not take you home. Jesus, in the 9th chapter of Luke's Gospel, says something that I want you to hear with fresh ears today. He says, "Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross daily and follow me." Daily, not just once, not just at a revival meeting or a powerful Sunday service. Daily. There will be days when following Jesus is costly. Days when it means saying no to something your flesh deeply wants. Days when it means trusting Him in a situation that looks, by every human measure, like things are falling apart. And in those moments, the wide road will look incredibly appealing. But every time you choose Jesus in a hard moment, something is built in you that cannot be built any other way. A depth of faith, a resilience of spirit, a quality of character formed not despite the difficulty, but through it. Now, I want to bring everything together, because I started by telling you that Jesus said something specific about why most people won't make it, and we've walked through so much of His teaching: the narrow gate, the wide road, the importance of relationship over religion, the call to genuine surrender. And I want to make sure that before we close, you hear the full picture. Because if all I've done is paint a picture of a demanding and costly road and left out the other half, then I've done you a disservice. Because the other half is this: Jesus is not standing at the narrow gate with His arms crossed, daring you to find it. He is at the gate. He is there. And in the Gospel of John, in the 10th chapter, He says something that reframes everything. "I am the gate. Whoever enters through me will be saved. They will come in and go out and find pasture." He is the gate. He is the way. He is the narrow road, and He is also the one who walks it with you. He said in the same Gospel, in the 14th chapter, "I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me." That is not an exclusive statement designed to leave people out. That is an invitation. It is Jesus saying, "There is a real way, a true way, and I am it. Come to me. I'll take you the rest of the way." And in one of the most tender invitations in all of Scripture, in the 11th chapter of Matthew, He says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls." Gentle and humble in heart. That's who is calling you, not a taskmaster, not a judge. Someone gentle. Someone who took on human flesh and human pain and human weariness because He wanted to know what your life feels like from the inside. Someone who went to the cross, not out of obligation, but out of love, so fierce and so complete that it changed the entire relationship between heaven and earth. So when Jesus says, "Only a few find the narrow road," I don't hear condemnation in those words anymore. I hear urgency. I hear the voice of someone who doesn't want you to miss what He's made available to you. I hear a loving Father saying, "There is a real way to live, a real way to know me, a real way to come home, and it takes more than going through the motions. It takes your heart. Give me your heart. All of it. Let me in. Let me be the Lord of every room in your life, not just the presentable ones." That is the message. That is what Jesus was saying. Not most people are doomed, but most people are settling. Most people are on the easy road. the familiar road, the road that fits comfortably into their existing life without asking too much. And Jesus is standing on the narrow road, calling out, "There is so much more. This is the road that leads to real life. This is the road that leads to me." And the remarkable, beautiful truth is this: you still have time. If you're watching this, you still have time. The invitation is still open. The gate is still open. Whether you've never truly given your heart to Jesus, or whether you've been a believer for years, but you know deep inside that you've been living on the wide road. Whether you've been going through the motions, protecting the corners of your heart, keeping Jesus at a safe religious distance, today can be different. Today can be the day you decide that you don't just want to believe in Jesus, you want to know him, really know him. The day you stop treating faith like a Sunday activity and start treating it like the central, defining reality of your existence. The day you open every room, including the dark ones, and say, "Jesus, come in. All of it. All of me. I want to walk the narrow road. I want to find the life you're talking about. I want to know you and be known by you." And if that prayer is forming in your heart right now, I want you to know that heaven is not indifferent to it. The God who sees every sparrow, who knows the number of hairs on your head, who loved you so completely that he sent his son to die in your place, that God is watching your heart right now, and he will meet you there. He always does. That is available to you. That is what Jesus is offering. Not a list of rules to follow, not a performance to maintain, but a relationship. A genuine, living, daily, intimate, transforming relationship with the Son of God who loves you more deeply than you have ever been loved in your life. A relationship that costs everything and gives you back infinitely more. A relationship that takes you through the narrow gate and onto a road that leads not to destruction, but to life. Real life, full life, eternal life. You still have time. The door is still open. He is still calling. And I believe with everything in me that if you are hearing this today, it is not an accident. I believe that the same God who spoke through prophets and appeared in a manger and walked out of a tomb, that same God is speaking to you right now through whatever screen you're watching on, in whatever city or country or circumstance you find yourself in. He sees you, he knows you, he loves you, and he is asking you to let him in. Don't wait until you're better. Don't wait until you understand it all. Come as you are. Come with all your questions and all your failures and all your uncertainty. And watch what Jesus does when you show up honestly before him. Watch what happens when you stop performing and start seeking. Watch what happens when you take your first real step onto the narrow road. I believe things will begin to shift in your life in ways you can't fully predict yet. Not because I'm promising you an easy life, but because I'm pointing you to a living God who keeps his promises. And his promise, given in the 10th chapter of John's Gospel, is this: he came that you might have life and have it to the full. To the full. Not a watered-down version, not a distant, formal checkbox version, but full, abundant, overflowing life. That has always been his heart for you, and the narrow road, as costly as it is, leads directly to it. I love you. I mean that sincerely. Everyone watching this is someone Jesus died for, and that makes you significant, precious, and worth every moment I spend making these videos. I pray that something said today found its way into the right place in your heart. I pray that if any part of you has been sleeping, it woke up a little today. And I pray that wherever you are in your journey with Jesus, you take one step closer to him today. Just one step. He'll meet you there. He always does. If this message spoke to you today, please like this video so more people can find it. Leave a comment below and share what God is speaking to your heart. And subscribe to this channel so together we can carry the words of Jesus to every corner of the world, one heart at a time.